Okay, so welcome. It is January the 15th, 2018. It is my sister Becky's birthday today. She's closest in age to me. And it's amazing she's still alive based on everything that I did to her as a child. I actually do have some regret over that as an adult now. And that she still speaks to me is actually quite amazing too. Oh. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for your presence and your interest in somatic meditation and your dedication to your practice. We'll start with connecting to ourselves, to the earth, to each other, and then I've got a little teaching talk for you today, and then we'll do some practice, and you'll have a chance to introduce yourselves as well. So let's just begin by feeling the earth underneath you, probably through your feet and your seat if you're sitting. And just begin to open to the qualities of the earth as you're experiencing them today. The softness, and the stillness, and the quiet. And just feel how when you are still and when you tune into those qualities, how those qualities start to come into your body and into your being. You can start to feel them come up through your feet, through your legs, through your seat. You can start to feel the stability of the earth animate your spine from the base all the way up through the crown of your head. Letting your ears come back over your shoulders. Letting there be a slight tuck in your chin so the back of your neck is open. Let there be space between your teeth so your tongue floats in your mouth. Your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders. Just take a moment to be in your body. And then feel your breath coming in through your lower belly. And then just feel how the words of our mantra are arriving, are landing for you now. Remembering that I am intrinsically good without exception, and that I have been given this precious opportunity of my unique life. I find ways to engage in my daily practice in everyday life. When I open to the vastness, stillness, silence, peace, and stability of the earth, that vastness, stillness, silence, peace, and stability opens into my body and being. Remembering that my heart is open, tender, and responsive, I enter into relationships as part of my everyday life. And then just take a moment to open to our relationships here, our community here, and acknowledge the community that has shown up for practice here today. So each time we come together, we are unique in our configuration. And each person here is unique, has access to their own basic goodness. And we'll be talking about this a little bit more in the talk today, is open, is tender, is responsive, has access to their own internal wisdom. And we acknowledge that when we come together as community in the way that we stand by each other, but that we allow each other to access our own internal wisdom. We do this by speaking from the words I instead of you. We do this by not giving advice and trusting in each other's basic goodness, even if it seems like they're going through a painful experience. Okay, so today I wanted to come back to our theme for January, which and also our mantra, and some things we've talked about before, but maybe in just a little bit different light. But in January, we're talking about this theme of the new year, the new me, and the way that these kind of plans and trips that we lay on our lives can inflict violence and harm on ourselves, and it can also create tension in our bodies. And this, over the past few days, I've been really reflecting on the phrase of our mantra, remembering that my heart is open, tender, and responsive. I enter into my relationships as a part of my everyday life. And just reflecting on how much our relationships, and both with ourselves, with the one that we have with our own body, our physical body, our emotional body, our energetic body, our spiritual body, our mental body, actually asks that we're present to our lives as they're unfolding, rather than laying down all these plans and these trips and these ideas about how our lives should be, which really is this kind of new year, new me mantra, this that we're putting under the microscope this month and really questioning. So I wanted to unpack the open, tender, and responsive part of our mantra, because I think that those words can be kind of romantic and flowery, and we can kind of overlay our own kind of definition onto them, and they're actually quite practical and they have a lot of meaning within our own training that is quite important. So when we say open, it means that when we say our hearts are open, and also when we are talking about our hearts, we're talking about our whole embodied being, really. Open really means that our bodies, our hearts aren't limited by our conceptual ideas about our lives. We all have these ideas about how our lives should be, and rarely do they actually line up with the way that our lives are actually unfolding. And that's why we that's why we have this mantra. That's why we have this intention to be open to our lives, so that we're not fighting against what's actually happening in our lives. What is true about our hearts is they actually are open to our lives as they unfold, without wanting our life to be different. I really love what my meditation teacher, Neil McKinley, says, which is that our body actually doesn't care what our personality has to go through. That is openness. And that's the truth of our lives. We kick and scream through our lives, not wanting to go through this experience or that experience because it's uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable for our ego selves because, it's not how we want to relate to our experience. But it's ultimately what we need to let go of all these kind of ideas that we have about ourselves, and the kind of person that we think we should be. That is openness. And with this kind of new year, new me mantra, or any version thereof, we kind of override the openness that is already available for us that's required to live a life that's truly embodied and authentic. When we map out all these plans and trips on ourselves of how we should be different, how we should improve, how life around us shouldn't be happening the way that's happening, we actually miss out on what's happening. And we miss out on some pretty important lessons that are unfolding for us as well, pretty important steps in our journey. We feel like we have to do our lives right, which is ridiculous. We feel like we have to be perfect. We feel like we actually impose those same beliefs on the people in our lives, which is just not loving the people in our lives. Making it like the people around us have to have it all figured out as well is inflicting the same violence that we inflict on ourselves to others. This is a form of violence that I see in my own life, and also on the demands that I place on people in my life. Also, I see it in the demands that others place on themselves. It's not realistic. And our meditation training teaches us that it's unnecessary, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And we've talked about it before in this meditation class, about it being, we've used the metaphor of the waiting room of our life, but it's almost like being one step removed from what's actually happening in your life. It's like life's happening here, but you're back here trying to, it's like, actually, if you've seen The Wizard of Oz, trying to kind of orchestrate your whole life. So you're caught in this place where you're not actually opening to what's happening. You're not fully engaged in the experience. And you're kind of sitting in this removed place where all this tension's getting laid on your body by thinking about, wouldn't it be better if this was happening or that was happening, instead of trusting what's actually happening. And so while you're sitting in this kind of removed place, planning, preparing, evaluating, judging, your own life is unfolding in its very often beautiful ways, but also often terrifying ways. But you're missing the direct experience. And you can miss the whole direct experience by being in this removed position. This removed position where what ends up happening is there's all this tension being laid on your body, instead of opening to what's actually happening. So at some point, we do have to, what this meditation lineage is asking of us is to trust the openness and the tenderness and the responsiveness of our heart. We can trust that our heart, we don't have to have it all figured out, that we will know how to respond. And we don't have to kind of stay removed and try and figure it all out. That our lives will be messy and uncertain. And we can be in the kind of messy, sometimes delightful, sometimes beautiful, sometimes terrifying unfolding of our experience. And so that's the open part, open to whatever is happening. And tender means that we will have the capacity to know in an intuitive way what's happening. And this happens through our meditation. You know, we've been training for this all along with our meditation, through our meditation and our yoga practice, by being present in these quiet places on our yoga mats, when we do the somatic meditation, when we do the yin practices, especially, we have a lot of quiet time to tune into our body, to tune into the sensations of our body, and to learn to listen to and trust our bodies, and to be able to tune into what our bodies are saying to us. And through this, we can have a growing trust and confidence in ourselves that we can meet each situation as it arises. You know, then the somatic meditation, we start to open those neural pathways in our bodies, and we grow this internal felt sense of our body. In yin yoga, we really start to come into different poses, and we develop a confidence and trust that we can be with sensations even when they can be intense. So in somatic meditation, the more the tension releases, the more spacious our experience becomes, the more we're able to attend to our lives, the more tension we laid down. So the more we practice, the more connected you will be to your embodied experience, the more connected you'll be to your internal wisdom, the more you'll be able to respond to that. So the more you'll be connected to that kind of internal felt sense, that intuitive way of, that intuition, that internal felt sense, that embodied wisdom. So that's the tender part. And then, you know, just responsive just means that you'll be able to bring that into the world without judgment and reservation. And I think that through our meditation practice, through tuning into our bodies, through connecting with that tenderness, that intuitive internal felt sense of our body, with that does come that willingness to be responsive, to take the appropriate and skillful action in our lives, because we've created that groundwork to be able to be with our lives as it is unfolding, to be open. So I think all those things go together, the open, the tender, and responsive. And that's why we recite that each and every day. And that's why we're different here. That's why we don't need to kind of map out our whole year, because, you know, it's really an egotistical thing to think that we can actually map out our whole year, because life is going to throw you curveballs, you know, and you're not going to be able to stay with the plans that you think are best for you. Things are going to happen. And it's just going to create a whole lot of tension in your body. In, you know, from my experience, from my limited 45 years of experience of life, this seems to make the most sense to me. I don't know about you, but you can let me know. You know, that's part of contemplation. You get to take these words in and see if they're true for you and your life, and feel it out for you. So I'll turn it over to you now. You can respond by introducing yourself and letting us know where you're connecting from. And if you have any questions about the talk today, you can ask questions or comments or contemplations, and they're also welcome now as well. Welcome, Petra. It's nice to see your Christmas tree still. It looks so festive.
Yeah, it was my birthday yesterday, and we keep the tree up until my birthday.
Oh, so nice.
It's my rule in the house.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's nice to see everyone. It's been a while. Thanks for welcoming me back.
So my name is Noortje, and I'm from the Netherlands, and it's past dinner time here. And I could really identify with the story about planning. I used to be a big planner, and I would organize my life by the hour, and for the longest time I could adhere to my programs, but something would happen. Like Melissa said, life would throw me a curveball, and then my program would collapse like a house of cards. So after a few times, I got the message, and I stopped planning so much. And now, like in my yoga practice, I used to come to my mat wanting to stretch my hips because they were too tight. Now I just do my yoga and see what is good for me in the moment, and I trust that if my hips need to be more flexible, then that will happen. So this is a shift for me that has happened over the past few months, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, I'm basically also in the process of surrendering my plans and just seeing what fits me, what is actually good for me, what feeds me, what nourishes me. Yeah, basically that. I'm in art school, and next year I'm going to graduate, and I'm not sure what I want to do yet. But I also, instead of making plans now, because I've made many plans on what to do after art school, but I've noticed they're not exactly what is good for me. So I'm just trusting that I'll get the right ideas at the right time. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you.
So I'm Ivy from New York, and my husband's joke here is that our family lives to make plan A, but we actually exist in plan B, C, and D. And it's how well we segue from one to the next that we congratulate ourselves on lately. I have, of course, been myself a very organized planner person, but yeah, just doesn't happen. And I do the best I can each day and see what ends up at the end. So no more struggle.
Thanks. You know what? I had a plan a while back that I had to do something like yin yoga and restorative yoga every evening. And for a while I could actually do it, but after a while when things started to come up and when life happened, and I stopped doing that. But I'm slowly getting back into a rhythm that works for my body and isn't really forced. I know I've had the tendency to be kind of neurotic about it and rigid, but I'm learning as I let that go a practice, like a rhythm will occur that actually matches my needs. All right, yeah.
Mhm. It sounds like an opening to trusting yourself too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I'm Lucille in Toronto. It makes sense to me. The big plans never really work out. But if I look at it even more simply, even my grocery list, like I always have a plan for the week.
I love it.
Making things totally different than what's on the list. It's ridiculous, and that's just to do with me. It's not to do with anybody else. Even. So that kind of proves it to me. There's no point trying with the big things because even the little things don't usually go according to plan.
God. I know the Haagen-Dazs is never actually on the list, but it always comes home, right?
I think it's actually less disappointing too once you accept it.
Right? Like actually, Lucille, you just maybe have a major insight, which is that it's the perfectionist and the pusher that does all the planning and the list making, right?
I think from now on, when I do my my grocery list, I'll just leave it at home when I go shopping.
But then you might forget your toilet paper. I'm sure that's
true.
happened to you guys.
It's been known to happen.
Lucille lives in an area where she can probably get toilet paper any time of day or night. It's like wouldn't be ever an emergency, eh, Lucille?
No, but it did actually happen because I was kind of out of commission for 2 weeks. I never went out, and even when I felt better, the weather was so slippery out there and windy that I couldn't even make it to the corner. So I guess the yearly plan might be buy toilet paper in bulk. Kind of silly.
Oh, I'm thinking of a title for today's talk.
Oh, good.
Buy toilet paper in bulk.
Okay.
For my husband, it's paper towels.
Jackie, I'm connecting from Spain.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Noki. And I'm wondering whether, because I fluctuated between being very plan orientated and then kind of not making any plans at all. And I really do think there needs to be a balance, but I'm wondering if maybe it's more about, for me, the attachment to the plans and the outcome and the expectations of the plans rather than the actual plans, because you need to have some plans. Otherwise, things like paying the insurance company for your car and, things like that are just going to fall by the wayside, and that's no good either. So I think it's a fine line between plans and no plans, but also, I guess for me, it's more the attachment and the perfectionist is definite. The attachment to perfection around the plans is definitely something I can relate well. But I definitely also think it's the attachment to the plan, the expectation that the plan will go according to the way you've planned it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well said.
And I think too, I'm Linda from Holland, that I have a bit the same what you say, Jackie, that it's it's not the planning that can be a problem, but it's mostly what you say, the attachment of the planning, and especially in relationship with others. That's my problem. I can plan well or let it go, no problem, but I prefer that the other one goes with my plan. Like my son, living with my son, or being with someone. There are a lot of times I really walk against that, like, oh wait, this is my plan, I want to do it this way, and I'm really attached sometimes to do it my way, and to let it go then, that's not always easy. And especially not easy to think about, why not do it his way? It's possible too. I can struggle with that. Yeah.
And I think in this with others too, this is where our practice is really important too, because this is where being open and connected with our bodies and the cues of our bodies and tuning into our internal felt sense, so that we know how our body is responding to the situation, so that we can respond appropriately and skillfully. Because it doesn't always mean being, like we like to say in our Sangha, Buddhist doormats.
Oh.
Sometimes it means going with the other person, but sometimes it means having appropriate boundaries and saying no, and right. And we will know when we're tuned into our bodies what appropriate and skillful action is in the time. Yeah.
I think the trick is to pay attention. It's easy to not pay attention and have our mind on something else, and then we don't notice that we've closed down.
Right. And this is like, that was the premise of the talk, really. The openness is the paying attention. The planning can actually be not paying attention, right? Because you're so tied into your planning, like the whole New Year, New Me. That was just an example, really. But the attachment to the plan can be a way that you're not actually paying attention to what's unfolding in your life.
I think it can have a lot to do with control issues too.
Yeah.
You're kind of trying to get a hold of your life by making the big plans. And maybe it's about avoiding a lot of things. You're writing this list, so you're really not paying attention to what you need.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting
it is a way of avoiding, for sure.
Technique, yeah.
I think it might also have to do with comfort zone, at least for me. Trying to stay in that comfort zone of my plans and expectations, and maybe some kind of a tendency of preserving myself, avoiding difficulty or issues, conflicts, anything. So anticipating any possible difficulty that might come up and avoid it as much as I can. Yeah.
So Yana and everybody, Yana said something really important there, which is preserving herself, which is a really brilliant way of saying maintaining ego, right? So there's something that we're holding on to, right? Instead of opening to the actual experience.
Trying to avoid change too. It's like that.
Sorry, Lucille?
I just thought from what Yana said, to me, it also sounds like trying to avoid change. You know, you want to keep the status quo or keep things working well. So, but life is change, so we can't control that.
Mm-hmm.
Or the routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think what's coming up for me is around trust part, about trusting that the unfolding will. It's about the trusting.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the biggest thing that's coming to the foreground for me.
Yeah, and with the trust, remember, we get to choose the appropriate edge for us too, right? Always, just like in a yin class, like it doesn't have to be balls to the walls. With this.
We don't have any balls here, Melissa.
I know, but you know what I mean. I thought that was an expression that might get the point across. You know, sometimes when we have these conversations like this that seem heavy, it feels like we have to like put everything on the line. But it can be like a yin class, right? It should be like a yin class where we open in a way that's appropriate for us. Oh, I like that, Lucille. And it should be.
I thought of what Michael Lee always said, not too much, not too little.
Yeah.
Find the middle ground.
Yeah. Because then that would just be inflicting violence on ourselves if we just went out there like that. And it would kind of be like, you know, you ever seen those, you know, memes after people come home from a Tony Robbins conference or something, and then they go into their lives and they're like so passionately over the edge to, you know, because they've had this huge experience, and then they're going to meet everybody in their lives like that. Mm-hmm. And everybody else is like, oh, what's happening? Right? So it's not like we have to do these big, huge things. It really is being open to our experience and responding appropriately and skillfully, which we can do, which we are training for. Each time we meditate, each time we do a yin yoga class, you know, each time we learn to tune into our bodies. So shall we do some of that training now? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and lie back then. So you're lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. And so let's reflect on being open just here with your 2 feet, your pelvis, your elbows, your mid-back, your shoulders, your head on the ground. And just notice what it feels like to be open here. Letting go of ideas of what this meditation should be like. And really just setting the intention to be open to this experience as it unfolds, not wanting it to be different, opening to the experience of lying on the ground here. Feeling the sensation of lying on the earth. Knowing that we don't have to do this meditation right. We're just letting go of thinking about how it should be and opening to the felt sense of it, feeling our feet on the ground, feeling the two sides of our buttocks, feeling our rib cage, feeling our elbows, feeling our shoulder blades, feeling our head on the ground, feeling the support of the earth, feeling tension being released from our body. Just notice how your body starts to relax here into the earth. And we talked about trust and surrendering. Notice how that is already happening here. You can trust that the earth is always there and available for you. You can feel the way your body surrenders and lets go into the earth. And that this is something that happens each and every time you lie down. So here in this position, we let go of the ways that we try and hold ourselves together by that kind of ego strength and control, those things that create tension in our body. So here we open up, we connect to the earth underneath us. And you're going to begin with your feet. Feel into your feet. Breathing into all your toes. And then feeling into your big toes on both sides. Breathing into all the pores of your big toes. Just notice with your felt sense of your body, feeling what sensations are there. Feeling the tension from the underside, from the top, from the sides, into the bones. And give yourself time to feel the sensation in your big toe. There's no rush here. And notice that when you tune into the tension, it begins to shift and dissolve, begins to let go, release down into the earth. And then breathe into all the pores of your second toe. Again, feeling the tension from the underside, the sides, the top, the toenail. Feeling the tension and then noticing how it begins to dissolve and let go. And then breathing in through all the pores of your third toes on both sides, your middle toes. Opening to the felt sensation in the skins, the toenails, the tip of the toe, the bones. Letting that tension dissolve and release and let go. And then breathe in through all the pores of your fourth toes. Feeling the tension in the bones of your fourth toes may be a little more difficult to access. The skins, the tops, the sides, the bottoms, the toenail, the tip of the fourth toe. And then just feeling how that tension dissolves and releases and lets go. And then finally your baby toes. Noticing the difference in the felt sensation, maybe feeling a little bit more retracted and pulled back. The tininess of the baby toenail. Just feeling the tension unravel in the baby toes. Then breathe into all 5 toes at once. Allowing any remaining tension to dissolve and release and let go. So we spend a lot of time in our feet when we do somatic meditation because the entire foot is mapped through the meridians of your body in your feet. And when we release, we move slowly through your feet, you're actually releasing tension in your whole body. So you may feel other parts of your body letting go as we move slowly through your feet, which is wonderful. Opening your awareness to the ball of your foot behind the necks of your toes. Feeling the different quality here, the density of the fascia, the connective tissue here, the skin on the sole of the foot here, up through the bones and the roof of the foot here, behind each toe, the first toe, the second toe, the middle toe, the fourth toe, and the baby toe. Feeling any gripping or holding on. Notice how that tension just wants to dissolve and release and let go down and into the earth. Just sense how the front of your foot is relaxing and spreading out a little bit more as we move through your foot. Coming into the arch of your foot. Feeling all the parts and layers of the arch of your foot, from the front and the middle, the back, the inside of your foot, the instep, the outside of your foot, up to the interior of your foot, which leads right to the front of your ankle. Feeling all the crossroads of tension, the bones, the skin, the fascia. Just opening to the way that your foot is unraveling through the arch on both sides. And feeling the density of the heels on both feet, the heel bone, the skin, the inside of the ankle, the outside of the ankle bones on the inside and the outside, the internal felt sense of the ankles. Feeling the holding and the gripping. And then letting your awareness open into your lower legs on both sides. Feeling the shin bones of your right and left legs. Feeling that tension slide down your legs through your feet and into the earth. And then feeling back through the lower leg, into the interior of the lower leg, and also through the density of the calf muscles. From behind your knee all the way down to your Achilles. Letting this tension unwind. And then just take a moment to feel into your lower legs all the way down through your ankles, through your feet, and just notice how this part of your body feels now. So does it feel open? And then feel your buttocks resting on the ground. And feel any tightness or gripping or holding in your buttocks, and invite your buttocks to let go, to connect more fully with the earth. And then open your awareness into the tension that's being held in your bones of your pelvis. Also through the sacrum, the tailbone, and your pubic bone. Feeling all that tension and letting that tension drain down and through the earth. And then opening into your upper legs from your knees down through the hip sockets. Feeling the tension in the bones themselves, the knee joints, the hip joints, the femur bone. Letting that tension drain down through the top of the femur bone, through the pelvis, through the buttocks, and into the earth. And then expanding that felt sense of awareness to include the muscles on either sides of the bones of the upper legs, the thigh bones, the hamstrings, the inner thighs, the outer thighs. Feeling the density and tightness of these bones, maybe even the numbness. And then just feeling into your whole lower body from your pelvis down through your lower legs, through your upper legs, through your lower legs, through your feet. Breathing into all the pores of your lower body, breathing out, letting go of tension. Just feeling into the felt sense of your lower body right now. You're just checking in and seeing if it feels more open at this point. It doesn't necessarily mean free from tension. It might mean open to deeper layers of tension that are revealing themselves even. And then feel your mid-back on the ground. So at the base of your sternum, your lower ribs, feel their connection to the earth. And then open up to the felt sense of your body internally here. The rib cage, the fascia on the insides of the ribs, the lower lobes of your lungs, the organs in your lower mid-abdominal region, so your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder, your small and large intestines, your stomach, your adrenals. You don't have to know exactly where all these things are, just intuitively sense around and feel into this part of your body. Feeling for tension. Noticing tension, allowing tension to come to the foreground. And letting that tension dissolve down through the side body, through the rib cage, and into the earth. And then feeling your shoulder blades on the ground. And just noticing how they're lying on the ground, feeling for the tension in the shoulder blades themselves. Feeling for the tension in the bones of the shoulder blades, but also just through the whole upper back, between the shoulder blades, and the backs of the shoulders, through the back of the neck. Up through the upper lobes of the lungs, the collarbones. Allowing all that tension to dissolve down through the shoulder blades and into the earth. And then feel your elbows heavy on the ground. And just feel how the weight of your elbows starts to draw tension out of your shoulders, down through your upper arms, down through your elbows and into the earth. You can also open to tension through your neck, in through the front of your neck, the back of your neck, into the interior of the hollowness of your throat. Feeling how this is connected to the tops of your shoulders, and let this travel down through your upper arms, through your elbows, and into the earth. And then opening into your hands and feeling the tension in your hands and the palms of your hands, the backs of your hands, the joints of all your fingers. And let this tension drain down through your forearms, through your elbows, and into the earth. And then open your awareness into your head. Feel into your head. Feeling any tension in your forehead, your eyes, your temples, your cheeks, your jaws, your teeth, the back of your tongue, the hollow of your throat, your brain, your scalp, your skull. Let all that tension drain down through the back of your head and into the earth. And then breathe into your body as a whole. Breathing into all the pores of your skin of your entire body at once. And just open to any other places of tension, any other points where your body wants you to release, and you can let that tension go through the back of your body and into the earth. And then with an attitude of tenderness and compassion and devotion, just attend to the stillness in your body. And you can rest, lie there, feel what you're feeling in a state of somatic relaxation and openness. And then when you feel ready, you can come back up to our circle. Okay, we have a few minutes here if anybody wants to check in or has any questions about somatic meditation or their practice in general, or even in yoga practices. Okay, if everybody is feeling content, then we can say goodbye for today then.
All right.
Have a wonderful evening and rest of your day, everybody. I have some filming to do now, and I know I owe some of you some emails, so I'll try to get back to you this afternoon. Okay? Namaste. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.